Welcome back. Betsy's not wasting any time. Welcome back, everybody, to the Birdies and Bourbon Show. We're very excited today to have Hope Springs Distillery on. So proprietor, distiller, I'm not going to steal her thunder. So Betsy, thanks for joining myself and Dan today. It was a pleasure. Thanks for allowing me to come out to your distillery. That's an awesome pot still you got in the back there. Loved hearing the stories from you and Paul. And thanks so much again for the samples. And we're going to enjoy the hell out of this tasting. So, so before we get started, I did cheat a little too. I've already got a gin and tonic in the glass. I think Dan does as well.
No, I was waiting for which one we were going to go to first.
He was waiting. So, so we've got a vodka, a gin, and an absinthe that we're going to taste today. If you wouldn't mind walking us through those. Are we going to go in that order, vodka, gin, absinthe, or what's the best order you think?
That's what I usually do because the flavor profiles seem to flow best that way.
Okay. I'll go for vodka first then. That's why
Okay.
I didn't pour.
Well, I wanted to get the housekeeping stuff out of the way, meaning the drinking part, the most important part. Well, you're actually the most important part, but I wanted to get the drinking piece out of the way. That way we got it covered. So I'm going to go ahead and crack the vodka. But while I'm doing that and pouring myself, and by the way, outside of the gin and tonic, we're going to try everything neat, except for the absinthe. And we're probably going to dilute that with a little water, but we'll see when we get there. So give us give us a story, Betsy. Tell us about if you want to tell us about yourself, or you can start with Hope Springs Distillery. Like how'd you get into the liquor making business?
Here's how this started. Paul and I, as you might see, are a little, senior. And basically we discovered once we got into our 60s that nobody wanted to hire us because we were too old. Mm. And we decided if we were going to have jobs, we were going to have to hire ourselves, which meant we needed our own business. Mm-hmm. And we had made beer and wine at home for over 20 years. But we didn't want to open a brewery because so many breweries. We didn't want to open a winery because we can't afford to buy a vineyard. And but craft distilling was just getting started at the time. And I said, let's do that. We know how to do that. So we spent a year working on our business plan and getting our financing in order. And then we got into it and discovered we did not know how to do that. So we have learned a lot over the last 6 years. We've actually had product out on the market for a little over 3 years now. The first product that we made is the Top Hat Vodka,
which we're tasting now. Yep.
And it's made from wheat, which I prefer. I think it gives the vodka a fresh taste. We wanted to do, we started with vodka because, of course, as soon as it's made, you can bottle it and sell it.
Right. Revenue stream.
But then we discovered we were making really, really good vodka. So it took but then we also started the absinthe right away too. We had a young man working with us who was fascinated with absinthe, and he had come up with this really great recipe, which almost matched the one that I had come up with when I took a class in making absinthe 6 years ago. Wow. But so we made his recipe first. Now he has moved on to other things, and I wish him well. Sure. Told me he was not going to make absinthe anymore, but I wanted to keep it because I had been selling it for 2 years at that point, and I had customers for it. So we have, at his request, we have changed the recipe slightly. We have changed the name and the label, but we had that out almost as soon as we had the vodka out. Mm-hmm. And we've done pretty well with it. I believe we are still the only distillery in Georgia making absinthe to bottle and sell. But anyway, back to the Top Hat. Mm-hmm. The reason it's named that, if you look at the bottle, do you have a bottle showing? Yep. Okay. The guy on the bottle is Lilburn Trigg Meyers. He's the guy the city was named for.
Yeah, so Hope Springs is based in Lilburn, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. Yeah, suburb of Atlanta. Yeah.
So at any rate, we saw this picture of him, and it was such an elegant guy. I said, we've got to name something after him. We try to name our stuff so that it gives you a clue. For the Top Hat, it's a clue that it's made in Lilburn. Also for the gin, which is Garner Creek Gin, and Garner Creek runs through Lilburn. But the vodka was pretty successful right away. We were really happy about that. The absinthe, of course, sells much slower because it's harder. It's a harder sell because it's more expensive.
Well, then you can't just sit down and slug a bottle of absinthe back. I mean, you can, but you probably aren't going to buy another bottle.
Then you're going to have the hallucinations.
Right. Yeah. So hold on. I don't want to move off. Let's stay on this vodka for just a second, and maybe I'll give some tasting notes of what I'm getting, and then you can tell me. I guess in the spirits tasting side, it's kind of hard to say right or wrong. It's kind of, well, what's your palate feeling like today, right? So this is to your point. I mean, this thing is like extra clean, and we're not label bashers on here, but just in comparison, if you crack open the bottle of Pinnacle in the plastic bottle and you smell it, and you get that real, alcohol, ethanol kind of, your nose hairs curl up. I mean, literally, this is, if you didn't tell me that I was getting ready to take a drink of alcohol, I wouldn't be able to tell you that I was drinking vodka.
It's really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing is we filter it with coconut charcoal.
Really?
And we don't have a big fancy filter. We made it by hand ourselves. It's a do-it-yourself job.
Well, Paul was saying he's pretty handy.
Yeah. And it works pretty well. And so the coconut charcoal is a really, really good filter. And then when we proof it, we use water that we run through the reverse osmosis filtration system.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really nothing in there that's going to taste bad.
Yeah, pretty standard. So it's when I say standard from a proof, so it's 80 proof.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if we talked about this when I was out there. I may have had a few too many drinks between now and then. But so most, I shouldn't say most, a lot of vodkas. Again, I'm getting nothing on the nose on this, which is the intent, right? I mean that's the purpose. Yeah. And then on the taste, now that you've mentioned the coconut charcoal, that's probably where I'm getting that sweetness. I mean, there's zero bite, there's zero burn to this thing. And I get that sweet kind of up front. And then it's just like, if you're on a diet and Dan, if you're like a vodka rocks drinker and you don't use any mixers, I mean, this stuff is, and it's not flavored to the extent to where you're drinking like one of the, mini brands that have 100 different flavor profiles. But this is a unflavored, I would say, I'm speaking for you, Betsy, but I would call this an unflavored vodka that actually has some flavor to it.
Well, I don't know if you probably do know this. Recently, the TTB changed their standard on vodka.
No, do share.
It used to be the standard was distilled at 190 proof, no odor, no flavor. But now they are understanding that what you distill it from may lend some flavor to it that you don't want to take out. And some of the sweetness that you are tasting is probably from the wheat.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes sense, right? So we're obviously by the name Birdies and Bourbon, we're big bourbon guys, and the big name and is Weller, or Maker's Mark. I mean, a lot of wheated bourbons, but that kind of gives that sweetness in there as well. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I told you before, it's not by any other reason than I'm vodka is not my go-to. I'm excited to get back to this gin. I may have already had a couple of pours out of it, but not today, but since I've had the bottle. And I mean, to be honest, I'm thinking, shit, man, this is like Bloody Mary Central for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, all day long, man. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
very
that's awesome.
Sweet, very pure. Yeah, I love this stuff.
It makes an awesome Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like so we always like to, as we're kind of talking along, and that's the idea behind what we're kind of doing and what we're bringing to folks. Or it's kind of like, hey, we met up at the bar and we're kind of just chit-chatting, right, and talking about booze. So with the Bloody Mary, and I guess I'm going to kind of lead into an absinthe conversation too. You have any ties to New Orleans at all?
I have been there on numerous occasions. My cousin, who is close enough to almost be my little brother, went to college there, and I visited him a couple times. So it's been a while since I've been there, but I really like the place.
Okay, so here's where I was going is that, so, the traditional Bloody Mary, right? You get a stalk of celery in it. And there's not, a stalk of celery and a lime wedge, and that's perfectly fine. There's no issues. It's one of the names escaping me. Anyway, but my first trip to New Orleans, I didn't stay out too late the night before. I didn't drink that much, and we're at brunch the next day, and I get a Bloody Mary, and it's got a pickled green bean and pickled okra in it in lieu of the celery stick.
Yeah.
And now it's like that. Don't show up with any, and I don't need like a sausage and a boiled egg and all that. So I don't need all that. But for a garnish, like don't bring a stalk of celery. Give me a pickled green bean or pickled okra, and man, that really makes it pop. So,
yeah, I did a photo shoot. I think it's been a year ago, maybe longer, for a magazine here in Atlanta that specializes in local food and drink. And they were kind enough to include both our gin and our vodka in their Bloody Mary roundup. And so I got to go and participate in the photo shoot. And the game to it was, how big a garnish can you build?
It's like a hamburger.
Well, I'm more of a traditionalist than
Sure.
that. So most of my garnish was vegetable in nature, but it got really pretty. Let me just stop at that.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll have to do some Googling and see if I can find that then, or if you've got a picture of it, just send it over to me. We'll put that up on our Instagram page. So
Okay.
So Betsy, so other than the Bloody Mary, what are some of your favorite cocktails for this vodka?
I have a friend in South Carolina who makes simple syrups with fruit and herbs. You should have her on your show. She is a hoot. Her name is Sally Porth, and her products go as Sally's Greatest.
Cool.
She makes a blueberry lavender syrup that is just fabulous with this vodka and lemonade.
Oh, wow.
And it makes the most beautiful purpley lilac color drink. She also has a blackberry spice and sage syrup, and that makes a fabulous blackberry sage Moscow Mule.
Ooh,
nice.
I'm telling you, it is really good.
So I'll take that as you're gonna send Sally's information to me or my information to her.
I will connect y'all because you would enjoy meeting her.
Yeah,
that's cool.
She sounds like Paula Dean.
I mean, have you heard me talk? So I mean, I can't really.
No, seriously. She sounds like Paula Dean, y'all. And she's a lovely person, and you will have a good time talking to her.
Yeah, awesome. Well, here's an idea, and not to steal any of your or Sally's thunder alone, but it might be a follow-up show if this goes well, and you're open to coming back on. We get on and do a little, maybe a little cocktail hour.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to do that.
Yeah. So, hey, so would we. I mean, if it involves cocktails, we're in. It's like yes.
Yeah.
That's a yes from me.
All right. Dan, I'll take it you're out, and Sally's in.
That's typical.
So, well, I don't want to be selfish here. Let's get into this gin. You want to?
Okay.
Yeah, you want to
Gin
share?
is my favorite thing. And I like to distill with botanicals because I like to cook, and that's basically coming up with a recipe and cooking it. I was in Austin, Texas about, I think it was 6 years ago. And there was a gin that we drank in the hotel bar there that I just fell in love with. It's called Moody June.
Is it local to Texas?
I think it is. And in fact, I'm not even sure if you can still get it because I haven't been to Texas for a while. And so I'm not sure if you can get Moody June. But yeah, that was my inspiration.
We'll have to ask Kessler, Cal.
Oh yeah, we got a caddy coming on tomorrow. We'll have to figure out if Kessler can get you a bottle.
They're from Houston. Yeah.
Well, at any rate, this class that I had taken out, I went out to Golden, Colorado again 6 years ago. I did a lot of traveling that year, to take a class in distilling with botanicals. And that's where I learned to make absinthe as well as getting some flavor profiles for my gin. Now, of course, the gin has to have juniper berries in it. And I like the taste of juniper berries, but I didn't want that to be the only taste. And the guy who taught the class is Stephen Gould, who is considered one of the most knowledgeable people in America about distilling with botanicals. And he has Golden Moon Distillery. So he was really good about this. He distilled out each herb in his storeroom individually and passed the bottles around so that we could figure out what each one was going to bring to the party.
Sure.
And when I got ready to do my recipe for gin, I was looking through my notes from class, and I have lavender out underlined 5 times. I really like the taste of lavender.
So I haven't tasted this yet, but so definitely, I mean, it's gin. So it is
Today.
Gin.
You're going to taste the juniper because it's
Today.
Juniper forward.
You're going to taste the coriander because it's gin. But then everything else in it is pretty much up to the individual distiller. And I came up with this recipe. It took me 16 tries. And I think I got close to Moody Gin, but I actually think mine is as good or better than Moody Gin.
I expected nothing less from you.
Me either.
Nothing
I'm
less.
really proud of this gin.
So I'm on the nose. I'm getting almost like a kind of a malted, like a malted mash kind of in there. Does that make sense at all?
Well, now this gin is distilled on the same neutral grain spirits that the vodka is made from.
Yeah.
So it's got that wheat base to it.
Okay, so maybe that's what but I think there's something that you're there's something in that potpourri you're putting in there that I can't pick it up. I'm getting the lavender, but there's something again, and maybe I'm just looking for that note, but I'm getting almost like a hint of sour mash. That's not what it is, but it reminds me of a sour mash.
Okay, there's some spiciness to this gin.
There is.
That's cardamom.
Oh, all right. There you go. Yeah, this is, well, I guess I've found my go-to gin now. I mean, I can't lie, Betsy. I mean, I've already found my go-to gin.
That's what I was going to say. You said you haven't tasted it, but not today, Cal. Come on.
But not today. Well, this is for the folks that maybe haven't tried it. So definitely need to get a survey out there and see who has tried Hope Springs Distillery's products. Hey, where can they find you at, by the way?
We are in distribution throughout the state of Georgia. We are with Savannah Distributors. So if anybody if their local retailer doesn't carry it, they can order it from Savannah Distributing. I mean, the retailer can order it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then also you do something that's pretty cool at your shop there on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, we have a tasting room, and it's tiny because it's the only place we could put a tasting room that we could have a door to the outside, which is a legal requirement. And so when the pandemic caused the lockdown, we closed the tasting room and we opened one of the roll-up doors, either the front one or the back one, depending on the weather. And we just sell right out the door.
Oh, nice.
And we also make hand sanitizer, and we sell that as well.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was a pretty cool story if you're in the mood for sharing that.
Sure. Last March, when it became clear that the pandemic was going to be a lot worse than anybody thought about, we were thinking about what we were going to do, because when the bars all had to close, there went half of our business right there. So I said, well, maybe we should make hand sanitizer. And then we thought about it for a few days, and I thought, well, I'm not sure it's legal for us to make hand sanitizer. And about the same day as I decided that, the TTB issued a memo to all of the distilleries in America that we were now licensed to make hand sanitizer.
Hey, the one time you didn't have to fight to get something.
Yeah. The FDA put up a little resistance because they actually regulate hand sanitizers. But then they said, okay, everybody can make hand sanitizer. We just are not going to prosecute anybody. I guess unless they found some really, really bad stuff, which case they would. So then the scramble was to get all the ingredients when every distillery in America was looking for the same stuff. but we finally managed to get everything we needed to go in it. And it's really an easy recipe from the World Health Organization. It is basically 95% alcohol, neutral grain spirits, basically.
Sure.
And 3.5% hydrogen peroxide, some glycerin, and some purified water. And I'm telling you, it makes really good hand sanitizer. It not only kills all of the viruses and all of the bacteria, it actually feels good on your hands.
Oh, cool.
So we started making hand sanitizer, and then also finding bottles to put it in was a problem because everybody's trying to buy bottles at the same time. We finally found some bottles, and I said, gosh, you think we'll sell as many as 1,000? Should we order that many? Well, we sold those in 3 days. Then we had to order more.
Wow.
And we had to go to a different bottle because those were all sold out by then. We're on our third bottle now, but then the supply chain caught up and the demand is not quite as high as it was at that time. But for 2 months, we were selling hand sanitizer out the back door every day.
Wow.
And a lot of the people who came to buy it also bought spirits because they were not familiar with us and they wanted to say thank you to us. And a lot of them have since returned as return customers for the spirits.
Perfect.
So it actually did us some good.
That's a good story.
The great, I don't know if I can mention this or not. You can cut me off if I get too deep on this, but it was if you live in the Atlanta area or Atlanta suburbs, it was the great traffic jam of 2020.
Yeah. We started selling the hand sanitizer one week, and between that week and the next Friday, I was in 2 newspaper stories and interviewed on 3 radio programs. And that Friday, we were supposed to open at 2, and I kept hearing noises outside about 12:30. I said, Paul, let's go find out what's going on. We opened the back door, and there was a line of about 30 or 40 people standing out there. And the police showed up about that time and said, do you know what's going on out here? And I said, no, I can't see out that way. The line went from our distillery all the way up to Main Street, which is about, an 1/8 of a mile, all the way down Main Street to Highway 29, which is over a mile. And people were trying to stop on 29 to turn into the city of Lilburn. Also, all the other side streets were packed. And for some reason, train stopped on in the intersection that goes through Lilburn. So that way out was packed. And I said, what do you want me to do? Tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it. I'll close if you want me to. No, we'll handle it. So from 12:30 until 5, we sold hand sanitizer one after the other. Car would drive up. We would take the order. We would go out and fill the order. We would come back in. Car would drive up. We would go out and take the order. We would fill the order. And at 5 o'clock, the police said, how much you got left? I said, I got enough for 20 people. Tell everybody else to go home. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a cool story in a couple of ways. I mean, one, being able to help out the community, but 2, from your initial order, from the, like, oh shit, what are we going to do now? To, well, I don't know, is 1,000 too many? And then it's like, you can't get 1,000 enough, I mean, in the time frame, understanding where we are now and things are different. But I guess where I wanted to take this was, and we haven't asked anybody that's been on yet. So do you think that the hand sanitizer business, does that stay in rotation? And you don't have to answer specifically for you. You can if you want, but you think it's like, no, as soon as it's done, like we're back to booze?
Most of us are not. I mean, most of the other distillers that I've talked to are not even making it anymore because they don't have any call for it.
Yeah.
We still have some inventory, and I'm still selling the occasional bottle out the door.
Right.
But we're not getting the calls that we used to because you can find it in all the grocery stores now. And I never intended for this to be another business. Sure. I always intended this to be an emergency situation. We're going to help out the community because we happen to have a unique expertise for this. And as soon as the emergency is over, we're going back to making booze.
Right. I hear you. Heard that. I'll drink to that, Betsy.
So will I.
Hey, I'm not like, this is, I've told a lot of people virtually. I've told quite a few people in person. I mean, it's, and I'll be honest, I hadn't tried your product prior to, us kind of meeting virtually and saying, hey, I'm not a scammer. Let me, let's get you on the show and let's spread the word about you. But I mean, this is one of those things. It's not, I wouldn't say it's hidden on the shelf. Obviously it's exclusive to Georgia right now. So if you're not a Georgia resident, you'll have to get your buddy or your neighbor to pick one up when you're driving through, or send you one. But you can't send one. So, just get it to you however they can. But
here's a clue that would actually be helpful to me too. If any of your listeners who live in other states think they might like to try it, they could ask their retailer to ask their distributor to maybe buy a little bit of it.
Cool.
Absolutely. Because they can buy it through Savannah Distributing, right?
Well, Savannah distributes in Georgia, but if you are in South Carolina, you could ask your local South Carolina retailer, who's your distributor, you think they might like to carry this.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I got
cool.
you. Yeah.
That would be real helpful to me, because I had intended, one of the things on my to-do list for this year was to find a distributor in South Carolina and in Florida and start to expand. But things got a little complicated.
Well,
Exactly.
don't worry. This is being recorded, I hope. And if not, we're going to have to back up and do all this over again. It's being recorded, but we're going to cut this clip out and we're going to send it to multiple distributors in South Carolina for you. So you'll be able to tell them directly, or virtually directly, if you know what I mean.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you for coming on. I mean, we really appreciate it. And again, I mean, it's fantastic stuff. I mean, it's not, they've got 3 labels right now. So, I mean, that might be they're going to have one label in the gin section, one label in the vodka section. And I'm going to be honest, and I can't wait to get to this absinthe. I've got so many questions. I've definitely had it before. It's not something that I would typically stock. But where is it, like in the cordial section? Is that where absinthe sits at?
Yes, usually it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
If you're looking for creme de violette or something esoteric like that, that's all going to be together.
What's it like? Is it like Portamont or something? Screwing that name up, but Dormata. I'm gonna stop because I'm messing there. But there's a substitution for absinthe that people would use regularly, and like a Sazerac.
Pernod is French.
Yep. Okay, Pernod, and but there's another one. It's I won't get the name. It's my mind's kind of.
Most cultures in this world, in fact, the use of wormwood as medicine goes back to the Greeks and the Romans, and wormwood is the main ingredient that makes absinthe. But most cultures have an alcoholic beverage on this flavor profile because it is really good for the digestion, and also alcohol is the best preservative. So that's why there are so many of these. There is Sambuca in Italy. The Pernod in France, there's Pastis, Ouzo in Greece.
Like a grappa, maybe?
Japan, I forget what it is. So, this flavor profile is actually pretty common.
All right, so we're gonna want to revisit some of these kind of as we go through this. So, I'm not really an aficionado of anything except for drinking. It's like, just put it in a glass and I'll take care of it. And don't go too far because I'll want another one. So what about, I'm going to have absinthe and we're going to try it straight. We're not really set up right now and that's not the intent. Maybe when Sally comes on, we can do an absinthe cocktail in some sorts, but we'll talk about cocktails in a second. So if somebody's at the house and at the bar, and they're like, hey, you want to try some absinthe? And it's like, okay, how am I going to serve it to them?
The easiest way to do it, and this was really common in France in the 1880s and 90s, is just to dilute it with really, really cold water and ice.
Oh, that's nice.
Y'all have seen those absinthe fountains. They look like big, huge goblets, crystal goblets with little spigots on them.
Sure.
You would put the ice and the water in that, and then you would pour a little absinthe in the glass and put the slotted spoon over it and put a sugar cube on the spoon and drip the water from the little spigots over the sugar cube into the absinthe glass. And when it got up to a certain mark on the glass, it would be done. Basically, you dilute the absinthe about 3 or 4 to 1 with water and make it the coldest water you can. When you do that, the absinthe is going to do what's called lushing, which means it turns cloudy. That cold water releases the anise oil, and makes it turn cloudy, but it also gives it that really nice, soft licorice flavor.
Okay, so when I poured this just straight into the glass, I mean, it was like you opened up a pack of licorice.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, or the anise, right? However you want to go, either way you want to go. I mean, you're kind of getting both, a combination of the two. But yeah, I mean, it's so from a, I don't know, can I call this a cordial?
Yeah. Cordial usually has sugar in it, and this does not. But this basically is a liquor. It's 134 proof.
It does say 134 proof on the bottle. Which, you know, I mean, hey, for some of the folks that are listening that are bourbon drinkers, I mean, this is, you know what, I'm trying to think of what the, it's not Liquor 43, but there's another that is a proper cordial, but it's down to whatever cordials come out at, 35, 40%, wherever they are. But there's another one that's just kind of reminding me of a little bit. My names are escaping me today. I don't know why.
This is insanely refreshing. I'll tell you that,
It is. My nephew came to visit the distillery right after we had first started selling the absinthe, and he took a shot of it straight.
Mm-hmm.
And he went, zing, what a feeling. And then he said, the aftertaste is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it all hits you kind of up front. It's kind of, like those, and it doesn't taste like that. I'm just talking about the feeling you get, those little, like those mouth spray, like breath freshener spray things. It's like you just squirted. It's not necessarily the taste so much. It's kind of, I mean, there's a lot of menthol. There's a lot of, not in a bad way, but it's like you just hit yourself with that Bianca spray, like right in the mouth. And then it just kind of goes away and coats your mouth.
This actually has some peppermint in it.
Okay, there you go. And is all three of these are from the same base spirit, right?
Yes.
From the top hat.
Yes.
Yeah.
We, like I said, we started with wheat, NGS, and we've just gone from there.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I should have really thought about this. I didn't plan very well. So back to the comment I made about getting Sally on and doing a cocktail. We made it to do a couple. We just like spend about an hour or so, so we're not wasting your time to get on
It'd
here.
Be perfect. She and I actually made Sazeracs together using her peach mint syrup.
Ooh, I bet that's good.
Simple syrup. And it's really good.
Well, I just wasted this absinthe rinse. I'm not going to wash this glass. I'm going to set it over to the side. And when we get done, I'm going to make a cocktail into this thing, because I think a lot of, if you think about cocktails that use absinthe, because it is a very pungent might be, if I say pungent, do you take that negatively?
It's very flavorful.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Explosive, yeah.
Yeah. It can really take over a cocktail. So if you haven't had a lot of experience with absinthe, the reason that you see people that they're they're pouring it in and they're rinsing the glass and then they're pouring whatever's left over out and they're just keeping the legs on the glass is because if you left it in there, you'd have an absinthe cocktail, and it would really, you have to have some pretty sturdy stuff. Which, given the Sazerac, right? I mean, you're kind of beefing that thing up there with some good hard rye liquor that kind of can withstand that absinthe punch that you're going to get there. But yeah, I mean, this is just great.
It is really good. I haven't had.
I got another recipe for an absinthe cocktail for you guys, and it also uses my gin.
Oh,
all right, let's hear it.
Okay. It's basically a gin martini with a couple of drops of absinthe in it.
Wow, that sounds
it's my gin and some dry vermouth and a little absinthe. And you put all that in the cocktail shaker with ice and shake it up and get it good and cold. And then strain it into your glass and garnish it with a lemon peel.
Oh yeah. So instead of bitters, you're using the absinthe to top that. Yeah, that's good. So
it's really good.
Since you said that, I'm actually going to take a little bit of this gin and I'm going to put it in this absinthe glass and do a little. I'm a big. So Betsy, we didn't talk about this. I didn't want to scare you away, but I like to do a lot of blending at home. So stuff that people have already perfected. I like to take it and kind of, mix it with different things and see how they taste. And yeah, I mean, it's like if it tastes bad, it's like, well, I've drank plenty of cheap liquor before that tasted like shit. So I'll be able to work my way through it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I made my own little cocktail here, I guess.
I'm enjoying this atmosphere. The G&T that I had was fantastic as well. The gin on its own was very, very flavorful, of course. And, but then when I put that tonic in there with some ice or whatnot, I know why it's one of your go-tos. It was really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So what's happening at, we'll get to some fun stuff in a minute, but we want to make sure we give you plenty of time to talk about anything that's going on. So we've talked about where they can find you Fridays and Saturdays, or they could schedule a time, I guess, if they needed to, if that didn't work out for them, to come to your shop. Come to the distillery.
Actually, we were bottling today, but a young woman called me and said, "We're having lunch up the street. Is there any possibility we could come in and drop in on the distillery?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we could take a break."
Well, and the good news, it was like 55 degrees here, so it was real comfortable today.
Yeah, it was.
I just did what you did, Cal. I put some gin into this as well, and it's great. It's a good cocktail.
Yeah, it's great.
Really good cocktail.
I need a cube ice in there, but to finish it off. But so I tasted something when I came up to visit you. It was vodka, and you put a little something else in there. I'm not saying it. I'm passing. Well, you don't have to. I don't know if it's like secret squirrel stuff or if we can.
No, I'll tell. I'm trying to get the proportions right, but I think I'm almost there. I'm making peanut butter vodka.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think it's, number one, you probably seen, right? So the biggest name, and it's not, but I think it's a bourbon, but I think Screwball is the peanut butter brittle bourbon or whatever it is. So I think you're spot on with doing this. I don't see a lot of it on the shelf.
I don't.
I think we're probably going to see more. So I think that not only are you making good liquor over there, I think as I see it, you're catching things that are like, it's there and it's good, but everybody's not doing it yet. How am I first to market, right? Or close to?
Yeah. I always said I was not going to make flavored vodkas because they're better if you put your own flavor in them, but peanut butter is one that's a little hard for people to do.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I really like peanut butter, and that peanut butter whiskey is pretty good.
Yeah.
I could do that. So I'm working on it.
No, I tried it. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I'm like going, shit, man, I'll take all the milkshakes you got. Just keep them coming.
Yeah. Think about all the milkshakes. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like, I need chocolate ice cream and here we go. So, but it's, you've got an awesome place out there. I'm surprised Paul's not weaseling his way into this thing.
Would you like to say hello to him? He's right here.
I didn't say that. I just said I'm surprised if he's around. I'm surprised he hadn't got a word in edgewise. Oh, there he is.
Edgewise?
There he is. So you want to share? I thought it was an interesting story. People may want to listen. And so you talked about. So we're 6 years into how do we learn to make liquor? I'm gonna go back to that for a few minutes, in a second or in a few minutes. I'll go back to that for a few minutes in a few minutes. But you had a pretty interesting story about your pot still. And you're in a very nondescript location, and you walk in and you open the door, and it's like, holy shit, there's a distillery in here. I knew we'd get something out of it, but I mean, like it's I thought it was a cool story. If you want to share it,
are you talking about how we came to be in Lilburn?
Yeah.
Well, I told you we had decided we were going to start this distillery, so. The first thing that you need, the federal government says, first thing you need is lockable premises. And we had both talked to enough other people to know that what sells your alcohol is your story. And so we needed to be in a really good place to tell our story and make it part of the story. And we actually went to a couple of other places first, and they kind of held their nose and said, go away, we don't want to hear about it. And we had known the mayor of Lilburn, he was the mayor then, he's not still.
Hey, way to go.
Well,
cost the man his job. I'm kidding.
Got thrown out, but we had known him for over 20 years, and he is a former preacher. He founded his own church. And so we said, Johnny, would the city of Lilburn welcome such a business? And he said to us, yes, we would love to have you in Lilburn. Where do you want to be? We'll find you some space.
Nice.
So that's how we ended up in Lilburn.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. So Betsy, let's see. We like to get a little advice on some of these shows here. So you've been at this now for a number of years. What advice would you give to yourself starting out? What have you learned? What advice would you give to yourself? Do it younger. Do it younger. Is that what he said?
You started too late?
It was a lot. There was a lot more to it than we had been given to understand.
Mm-hmm.
We went through 2 really major snags, but once we got through them, we started having fun.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
and
I should have said started too late.
The year we were going to break even, but God had other plans.
Yeah, well, that's a fact. Yeah, and I shouldn't have said you started too late. I should have said you didn't start early enough. I'm just trying to reframe what Paul said and sound smarter.
Well,
I don't get many chances to do that. So
it happened when it happened, and now that we are where we are, I don't think I would change anything.
No, hell no.
There you go. That's the
snags taught us a lot. So, and I want to tell you that this has been the most amazing experience in that we have met the most fabulous people.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have met some of the nicest people in the world doing this.
So if I were
no, Cal, she's not talking about you.
I'm not. No. So, but if somebody's listening, right, and they're like, oh shit, they just started 6 years ago. They're in their second career. For Paul, maybe his like 10th career, but you know they're done, but they're moving on, right? And they're looking for something now that can be a profitable. I don't want to call it a hobby because I didn't get that sense from you guys that it was a hobby, but you're doing something.
Definitely not. This is definitely we are hoping not to be a not-for-profit for very long.
Yeah, but you're doing something that you love, right? So I guess when I say a hobby, I mean it in a sense of like you're showing up and you're doing it, and like this is a passion that you sought this out, right? You could have done who knows how many different things. So for somebody that may be looking to do this, I mean, are there some tidbits that you could just drop? I mean, there are a few bullets. It's like, hey, do or don't, that kind of thing. If
there's somebody who's looking to get into this business, my best advice is see if you can get one of the craft distilleries to hire you for at least a year.
Boom.
Because you're going to see how hard it is and how rewarding it is. And you're going to be able to decide whether that balance works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, there was no right answer. I was just looking, but that's a great answer because I mean, so many people are, oh, I love to drink. Right. I wouldn't even think about remotely doing anything like this. It's like there's no.
If you think you're going to sit around drinking all day, this business is not for you.
Right. Exactly. It's hard to make it if you drink it all. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. You can't make a profit if you don't have any to sell.
That's right. Yeah. What? Hold on. So Dan's chomping. I got one more question, Dan, and then I'll shut up. Not really. But are there any any plans for any new? So I know we talked about the peanut butter. You don't have to tell us if it's a secret still. But are there plans to expand the labels? Meaning new and different labels.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So hey, more to come. You heard it here first.
So Betsy, what we always ask people on these shows about a diamond in the rough. So you guys are from the local area where Cal's kind of at,
Lilburn.
Right? So,
yep.
Lilburn. Yep. Give us a diamond in the rough if somebody's coming to visit you, or any of your local favorites. Like, where's a place off the beaten path? It doesn't have to be necessarily off the beaten path, but what do you recommend if somebody's coming to visit you for the weekend, or if you're from a Friday, something like that? What are you thinking?
Well, in Lilburn, in Old Town where we are, there is this really cool permanently installed food truck in the park. And the park itself is a little jewel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It has, there's not a lot of, it's more of a passive park, it's more you go there and bring your own things to have fun with.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a permanently installed food truck called Agavero Parkside. Some of the best Mexican food you'll ever have, and you're eating it outdoors on their patio. We also have in Old Town the 1910 Public House, which is a well-established restaurant, but because it is in Lilburn, there may be some people who've never heard of it. Mm-hmm. But it's fabulous food and just a really fun place. And I don't know if they are going to be up and running anytime soon. Probably not until next summer, but we have this wonderful, wonderful music school right there on Main Street in Lilburn called Music on Main Street. We all call it Moms. And they have concerts in the summertime in their backyard. They bring in artists, and some of them may be people you haven't heard of, and they're really great. And the teachers there at Moms have put together a band of all the teachers, and they call themselves Mama's Boys. They're really good.
Nice.
Can we say that anymore? No, I don't want to go. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Well, they called themselves that, so I guess it's okay. But the city of Lilburn actually is really looking to make the Old Town area a destination. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of plans in the works, which I think I am not at liberty to talk about. But if you watch what happens in Lilburn, it's going to be pretty exciting over the next couple of years, I think.
Well, think about when you first moved in, because you've been at the same location since you started, right?
Yeah.
And like just the growth that's happened since you've been there. And I didn't go to Lilburn much because there was really no reason to go to Lilburn, right? And I've been in Atlanta since, I don't know, like 2000, right? So, I mean,
if you didn't know somebody here, you probably would not have visited.
Yeah. You don't even know what Lilburn is. And, but it's got like the little downtown area is very quaint and, little shops and stuff. I mean, of course, with the pandemic and stuff that's happening has had a effect on everybody. But, once we get things kind of right sized, we'll be, it's a great little area to go and spend a whole day.
I should have mentioned also, there's this fabulous store right on Main Street, the antique store.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge, and it's in this building that was built in 1910. The building itself is worth looking at, but they have all of these really cool things in the store. You can spend hours in there.
Well, I'll tell you, that's like one of the most perfect answers we've ever had for that question, because I can tell you now, probably within the next 3 weeks, you're going to see Cal and Dixie going to the park, which is his little dog, going to the park.
I love Mexican food.
He loves Mexican food. He loves shopping antiques. He loves all of that stuff.
All right, so she must have had an inkling that I had a hankering for Mexican food, because she didn't mention that shit when I went and picked this stuff up. She still thought I was one. She thought I was one of those.
A private detective.
She thought I was one of those hoodooers. She's like, "Hey, who's that punk coming in here like stealing the booze?" I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Betsy.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I was just happy to know that you were not just trying to scam me.
No, hey, like I said, it's like if we're talking, we're legit. We try to be at least.
He only does that stuff on the golf course.
Well, let me put it this way: Dan's legit. I can't speak for myself.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Dan's a nice one of the group. That's why I do all the talking.
No, this is really good. I love this cocktail we made, Cal.
Yeah, that absinthe stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely having a Sazerac once we get done here. So, I got to bring my gal pal. We got to come out and see you guys. We got to get some Mexican food. I do want to get. So reach out for Sally. You guys are connected, right? Pretty close enough.
Yes.
Yeah. So reach out for her and see. I'll send you. Well, you'll get some clips of this stuff on Instagram. Oh, it's a good segue. Thanks, Dan. So how can people find Hope Springs Distillery, Betsy?
We are on Facebook and Instagram. We have a website, but we have discovered that people rarely look at it because they would rather do social media. Mm-hmm. So I don't update the website as often as I should. Mm-hmm. But our contact information is on the website. So if you can't find it on either Facebook or Instagram, you can find it there. Right now, we are open to the public on Friday and Saturday afternoons from 1 to 4. But that's subject to change because the one thing that we have learned during this pandemic is that we need to learn to turn on a dime if necessary and just do something different.
Numbers on the door.
And the number's on the door.
Cool.
And can you open up anytime you want? I mean, if you wanted to, could you be, I mean, I know there's like, you can't open before this time and after that time, but if you wanted to open like every day from 1 to 4, could you?
Yes, we can open anytime we want, except we cannot make sales on Sunday morning before 12:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Gotcha.
So, Betsy, what are you most excited about? This is a weird year, but what are you most excited about in the next year? Non-COVID related.
I'm excited about getting to see my family again and maybe doing some traveling.
Okay. Well, travel, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So Paul, I want, this is it's not a 2-part question, but I want 2 answers. So are you 2 coffee drinkers?
Yes.
I got an IV.
I told you, Dan. I told you we'd get it out of him before it was over. And then one at a time. I don't care. Well, you can do it simultaneously. Do it in unison. It doesn't matter. How do you take your coffee?
Everything.
Paul puts in, when he says everything, he means cream, sugar, and some extra instant coffee.
Yes.
So like whatever's at the buffet, at the Fix Your Coffee buffet, he's like, I'll take one of each.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm a cream only girl.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we just like to get a feel for because as we're talking, and I really, I mean, honestly, I hope we get to do this again.
Mhm.
I thought we were going to have a good time. I had a good time. The booze didn't hurt. They only helped. And I would love to get on for a cocktail hour. But it kind of gets in the sense of, because if you think about tasting spirits and most people, so I grew up in East Tennessee, right? I'm hillbilly central. And it's like you're getting JFG out of the can, get the big can because it's cheaper, and you peel the top off and you dump the grounds in, and don't dump too many. And if my granddad were making it, he'd be like, just put more water in there and cycle it through again, So it's like, it just needs to look like coffee. I know. Anyway, but it's like, it just needs to look like coffee. But if you think about coffee drinkers, and this is not a plug for anything on coffee. It's just that tasting spirits and the uniqueness of them, if you drink coffee from not out of the JFG or Folgers can, it's a lot like drinking a spirit. You can find so many different tastes and flavors in there, depending on where it's from, how it's grown, how do they, I've lost it again. How do they burn it? It's like, it's a whole, it's the cocktail experience, and it helps me through, a foggy morning.
Yeah, that's true.
Dan, wrap us up. We don't want to keep these people all night.
No, it was fantastic. Thank you guys so much for coming on. And
I
again,
enjoyed it, and I appreciate you having me on.
And we were blown away by everything that we were sampling tonight. You made us a fantastic cocktail with the absinthe and the gin that I don't think Cal and I are going to forget anytime soon.
It was an absinthe wash with gin straight up, and it was not chilled. And I would drink that all the time, except I wouldn't be talking very much.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Betsy.
Betsy and Paul, we really appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks so much for being generous with the samples. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to having you back on. Hope you will. So I'll say cheers to Hope Springs Distillery and Betsy and Paul.
All right. Cheers.